はい。皆さん、おはようございます。はい、おはようございます。皆さん聞こえてますでしょうか？あ、こんばんは。猫ネスさんいらっしゃい。あ、チョコボリいらっしゃい。ちょっと待ってな。ですね、なんとですね、ちょっと聞いてよ、みんな。すごいよ、今回は。みんなツイッチの方行かないといけないと思うじゃん。大丈夫。うん。俺許可取ってきたから。許可取ってきたから俺の配信だけ見てりゃ OK だ。まあその話はちょっと待って。今セットアップしてる。というわけでですね、公式配信同時視聴枠、なんとミラー許可を、いただきまして、大丈夫だよと。あなたの配信映して大丈夫ですよということを言われまして、なんと、この1枠だけで完結するということになります。なんでね、公式 Twitch の配信は見に行かなくて大丈夫です。よろしくお願いします。はい。じゃあ、そろそろとりあえず行きましょうか。ちょっとセッティングさせて。はい。とりあえず普段の画面です。Twitch を映すとこうなるんですよね。で、ちょっと、スイッチちゃん。スイッチちゃん、ちょっと、むずいね。これは、むずいです。これとても。こうして。ちょっと待ってな。はい。やばい、すごい、尺余りみたいになってる。尺余り、マジで、ちょっと、早すぎな、始まんの。危な。やばい。ちょっとやばいわ。さ、あれ隠していい？ちょっとオーバーレイ今日抜きでいいか。ちょっとオーバーレイちょっと邪魔だわ。これ専用のオーバーレイ作ってねえから、こうして、ツイッチ、はい。ツイッチ、はい。これでいいですかね。で、はい。なんと皆さん、喜んでください。危ない。ね。スペルブレイクアップで来るよ。はい。音小さいとかあったら言って。音上げるわ。これどう？聞こえる？俺の声より小さい。となったら言って。許可取ってきました。はい。許可取ってきました。ミラー OK ですか？ミラーというか、リアクションするために、あなたの配信、私の配信流していいですかって言ったら、問題ないように感じたんで OK でーすって言われました。許可取って、自分の配信で流していいとのことなので、公式配信を僕の配信で見よう。一緒に見よう。よし。やった、見れるのめっちゃ嬉しいな、これな、みんなでな。見るぞ、みんなで。どうなる？めっちゃ楽しみ。やばい。やっぱ、こういうのテンション上がるな。これガチっすね。もう朝の4時だからよ。完璧に頼むわ。BGM とか大丈夫ですか？この今、スペルブレイクの BGM 聞こえます？みんな言ってな。俺の声がでけえとかさ。あと言って。みんなでここで見るか。みんなで一緒にな。 こえまくってる。スペルブレイクいい BGM してんな。普段聞かないからさ、全然。なんか新鮮だ、すんごい。みんなもなんか、翻訳でね、相互がある場合には教えてくださいね。BGM もしかしたら OK。はい、了解。ちょうど切れちゃった。はい、4時15分つってたよ。あと5分あるよ、5分。みんなもなんかこの間に水持ってきたいな。してください。それぞれ予習用動画ちょっと削除しますね。メッセージ固定外します。ちょっと。あばい。固定が外せなくなってる。やばい。ごめん。キサキさんの一瞬固定にして、メッセージの固定解除します。はい。すいません。めんどくさいことしてます。今からアップで来るんじゃないよ。今日の夜23時ぐらいから来る。違う。そうじゃない。今は、アップデ内容を今説明する段階。楽しみ。これ地味に後ろの煙動いてんだね、これ。画面がでかすぎてなんかそういうの感じないわ。楽しみになってきましたね。残り3分やね。みんなな。楽しみー。でもさ、ちょっとさ、気になったんだよ。キーワードのやつあったじゃん。ツイッターで1、2時間前ぐらいに出て、キーワードを解くみたいな問題で。キーワードが、結構ストーリーに関係してくるものとか、基本的なものがある中でダッチがあったんだよ、ダッチが。これね、下手したらダッチ回避が、また別でちょっと出てくるのかもしれない。結構ゲームプレイの、戦闘の核となる部分って言ってたから、もしかしたら、ダッシュルーンがそんなに使えないものになって、回避っていう行動がまた別で出る可能性が、ここ1、2時間で、急浮上してくるっていう、みんな見ましたか？ツイッター。僕が一応ツイートしたんですけど、全然あるよねっていう、正直なところ。ダッチあるよね。ブリンクかみたいな。そう。だから、ブリンクが、ルーンとかじゃなくて、通常範囲の可能性が全然ある。だから、狼ルーンでブリンクができるみたいな。可能性が、ここに来てきた。ここに来て少し出てきた。だってさ、キーワードの中にダッチ入れるってなかなかなくない？だって他全部フロストボーンとかコンジットとかオートマトンつって、オートマタね。ニーアオートマタのオートマタだから、機械の人間が、コンジットとかつけてたじゃん。ああいうのオートマトンって言うんだけど、オートマトンとか、あとストーリーに関係するものだったり、スペルブレイクの根幹の前やったスペルブレイクとか、そういうのキーワードの中にダッチが入ってたの一つだけ。意味不明、マジで。ダッチって一つだけ入ってたの。なんか全然ある。ここに来てきた。マジで。びっくりしたもん。ダッチって。なんでダッチ？ダッシュでいいじゃん、だって。ダッチじゃなくてダッシュでいいじゃん。別に。ダッシュとスプリングステップとシャドウステップでいいじゃん。ブリンクっていうか、ね、そういう、ね、回避として。来た！
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hey, it did work.
Hello.
So we need a very brief piece of your input. Should I be slightly in the dark, but natural
アプデ
light,
内容の
or
パッチ
should I
ノ
reach
ート
over
の、
here
発表で
and
す。
get the
ワンケンもいらっしゃい。
like
のどあみさんもいらっしゃい。
soothing yellow
猫
light?
のよしさん、キサキさん、ベノーム、元気バさん、ナナメロンさん、チョコボリさんいらっしゃい。
Dark mode Jesse, light mode Jesse. Oh no, it doesn't matter. Soothing. It's too. Turn off the light. It's great.
音上げていい？これね。
Good. Let's go dark. Dark mode is better. I'll split the difference and I'll open the window a little bit more.
音聞こえづらいとかあったら言ってください。ちょっと上げました。
There we go. Now we're back in action.
はい、始まります。
Love it.
始まります。
How's everybody doing? Dark and light? Ooh, I don't know what that'll even look like.
あ、まだ照明のことについて言ってますね。ちょっと暗いなと。
Eh,
あ、ちょっと明るくなったねと。
eh.
上がジェシーです。下がダン・オグルズ。
So how you doing, Dan Ogles?
下がゲームディレクターですかね、確か。
Pretty great.
Pretty good. Pretty
Excited.
good. I saw a bunch of subs.
Finally
coming
get to
in.
talk about this stuff.
基本的に調整案とか考えるのが下の
Dan
方
will
だっ
only
たは
give
ずだ
buff
けど、
notes and
ダン・オ
Jesse
グ
will
ル
only
ズだっ
give
たはず。
nerfs as he is in dark mode. That would actually that would be way more planning than we ever do. Turn up the mic. Is my mic not good, or is Dan's mic not good? Mic is fine. Mic is fine. Mic is not fine. You're just fine. All right. Gonna ignore that then. All right.
All right.
People are very keyed in on a dodge mechanic. I think
Dodge
that was
mechanic.
leaked in some sort of math equation thing.
あ、違うか。違うか。
Math puzzle.
A math puzzle.
ほら、ムーブメント、ブリンクルンハンズアップって言ってんや、これほら。
If a
ブリンクルン
breaker is running at 1800 units a second, and I don't know.
どうなる
All right.
どうな
Should
る
we just
回避だ
start
ぞ、
going?
だってダッチって。
There's a whole bunch of people that like
避ける
subbed
っ
while
て
I
意味
wasn't
だぞ。
actually streaming it, and I feel bad, but thank you all. As I saw Taco and Opie and
Go.
Andrew and I don't know
マー
if
カ
that
スもお
stuff
るやん
is。even kept in Twitch, but
キャンセルオフリー。身内ネタが激しいぜ。
all right, let's do this.
Let's do this. 来たぞ。
Chapter 3 release notes. Hey, what's the stream?
はい、このストリームなんですか？
Who are we? I'm Jesse. I'm the design
デ
director.
ザインディレクターですね、上が。
That's Dan.
ダンはゲームプレイデ
That's
ィレク
Dan.
タ
He's
ー。
down.
修正とかですね、ゲームバランスとか、下の方
What are
で
we
す。
going to
今
talk about today?
日は何について
Everything in
話します
Chapter
か？
3. There's a
チャ
whole
プター
bunch
3
of
の
Chapter
すべ
3.
て。
What are we not going to talk about today? Everything in the future. You might be able to like get one or two things in the future out, but yeah, generally not future. When is the patch? It's tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m.
いつも通りですね。23時ですね。
It'll
こ
probably
れ
be an hour or two of downtime as usual.
はい、1時間から2時間のダウンタイム。いつも通りです。はい、時間いつ
Bug
も通り。
fixes. We got like I don't know, five pages of bug fixes. We'll probably blow through these.
Yeah, you want to do the normal swap them off?
You want to just read one, then the other?
Yeah.
All right.
テ
we're
レ
gonna
ポ
do
ー
that.
トが無効
So,
な位
everybody's
置
favorite
っていうエ
teleportation
ラ
has
ーを
had
吐くの
further fixes to
が
prevent
治るらしいで
reporting
す。
invalid
はい
targets.
数々の問題が治るらしいで
I
す。
don't know if this is going to fix it fully
や
or
ったね
not,。
テレポート使いの人おめ
but
でと
more
う
of。them are
It's
gone.
definitely a lot better. So yeah, there's an invisible platform at the top of the Banehelm Dominion map, which people could do lame things on top of. That is removed.
If again,
一番上
this
の
was
バーン
fixed
ヘルムド
previously
ミニオ
at
ンマ
one
ッ
time
プにア
in
ク
the
セ
past,
ス。
but if you freeze toxic clouds
どういうこと？
while they're in midair, they won't just hang out in the sky anymore.
There's one scenario we kind of missed. So,
毒雲がこ
yeah,
Which
sky
is
base,
cool,
bases
but
are
you
gone until
no
you
one
guys
has
find
any, but-
another way to exploit it. A bunch of floating chests are now on the ground.
Your XP bar will now
チェス
refresh
っていうのは
and
宝物だから
display
あれだな。
properly, not property, when you buy a level.
レベル買った後の話なんで、まあ、ほぼ縁
Dialog
がないです
box
ね。
would sometimes appear on the top left of the screen instead of here in the center where it's supposed to be.
チュートリアルの
Extreme
話で
center
すね。
left.
You are not prompted to enter the next safe zone to resurrect your squad mates after you've already done so.
So we fixed an issue that caused games to start matches with only one party if another second party unreadied during the queue. This is for Dominion specifically. So this is a case where you'd end up with fewer players.
やばい、わからない。ちょっと、早い。
Fixed an issue causing multiple HUD elements to disappear after transitioning from the lobby to the match with any confirmation pop-up open. I don't actually know what that one is, but
やばい、多すぎて追えない。
Same, actually. There's a bug where a character did not perform the default class selection animation or the gauntlet equipped. So when they do this kind of like animation, they're supposed to have actually a gauntlet on their hand.
結構些細なものが多いかな、ここまで。
Some flickering textures in tutorial.
So I guess, yeah, players were unable to navigate the chapter pass purchase screen with the D-pad. They could only use the analog pad.
ここまでほぼ無縁なものが多いですね。なんか、あ、これ直してほしかったんだよっていうのじゃない。
Fixed an issue causing several game modes to disappear from the game mode selection screen after returning from any game mode. Again, I didn't know that one.
Yep. So there's a prompt that now displays correctly when the host of the match leaves to join a different party.
ちゃんと公式の人からね、
online
ちゃんと許
status
可を
and
取
party
って
status
公式配信を流します。
no longer remain active after the application is forced closed. So I guess if you force quit the game, you would not update your status for a little while.
はいはいはい。
The mocking laughter emote had several outfits that
そ
had
こまで、
clipping
そこ
issues.
まで、
It's been fixed.
ここまでは。
Players with pokey internet were unable to turn off voice
そ
chat.
こまで、なんか微細なバグ修正ですね、ここまで。
Although it was kind of entertaining, the Valguard Inquisitor's cape no longer goes crazy in the play and collections menu.
これわかん
I'm
ない。
enjoying reading chat and seeing what they're telling us to do, knowing what's coming later in the slides.
ケー
Page
プっ
4.
て後ろのマントかな、わかんないけど。
Oh, lots of. I'm not going to say
あ、
which
そうで
ones.
す。
because then
Something
they'll
being
get
stuck
confirmation.
in environment. え
Iceland's
環境に刺さってる
will no
氷の
longer
矢
get
みたいに
stuck
な
in
るってこ
certain
とあれ。
circumstances
あ、
around
なん
the
かさ、
world.
ヒュって刺さっとるやん。あれが
Yeah,
治
it
るってこ
wasn't
と
really
か
stuck in the environment as much as stuck sitting there in midair.
な。
Sure, a lot of people have seen that.
Rate up and done when rotating up. これわかんないですね。
Oh yeah, sorry. Player card no longer bounces up and down when you're rotating the character. In
キャラクターくるくる完全に変えてるときにカードが変な方にならないみたい
Bunch
な
of
感じか
LED
な。
fixes. So, you know, when you see things at a distance, they'll pop in less egregiously.
The Jewelworks Cloudburst preview would disappear after a short time if you were looking at it in collections and presumably the store.
そこまで。
The final circle once again continues to shrink. At the very
no
end.
longer, yeah, it doesn't move as it's shrinking either.
最終演バトルワイヤーの最終演
And then if you were on low detail, then
時が進むごとに
toxic
必
mists
ず収
would
縮し続
sometimes
け
be
ます。
invisible, which is
毎回そうじゃな
not
かっ
great.
たのかな。
That's rude.
Fix that.
私ミスって
Last page.
クラウドバー
Sometimes
スト。
chests
あ、
would
クラウドバーストの
spawn
話なんだ。
as they were already opened. There was also occasionally
クラウド
some
バ
double
ーストって
spawns
書いてあ
and
っ
stuff.
たもんな。
It's been
クラウ
fixed.
ドって言うともう完全に毒の方だと思って。何だろうと思って。
The little jewel in the UI that shows you have new talents is now correctly. It goes away if you look at those new
あ、
talents.
チェスト開いた時の
The Ice and Wind Brimstone FXs will actually appear in the world now, as opposed to
インタ
sometimes
レン
being
トノーティフィケーションはそこ
underground.
まで。
So yeah, there's an issue with the interaction of the tough talent with Stone Skin. It's now correctly gives 20 armor.
氷と風のブリムストーンのエフェクトがうまく出てなかった問題が修正されるらしいですね。
You don't get immediately.
And I think one more. Yeah. Occasionally on PS4, save data could get corrupted if you spammed one of your buttons while it was waking up from being asleep.
ああ。
Yeah, this basically caused all your
Today,
like preferences your account stuff is saved, but all your preferences would get lost.
早すぎる。
Which is pretty annoying.
今回めっちゃ量多いんだろうな。
People are asking about Xbox Crash. Dan, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there's tons of crash issues. There's some Xbox crash issues.
バグ終わりらしいです。
Store and cosmetics.
はい、
Well, I'll just blow through
店、
these right quick.
ストアとスキンとかで
There's
す
a bunch of new cosmetics.
さらにスキンが追加されま
Xbox
す。たく
Game
さん。
Pass subs get Chapter 3 for free.
Xbox ゲームパスサブスクライバーだと、
The
チャ
outfit
プター3の
icons
パスが無料で
now
す。
show pose characters as opposed to the same pose in every single icon. They also use their
止まったキャラクターで見れるようにな
when
り
you're
ますよ。
looking through
これ
them
まで
in
の
class select.
装備来た瞬間の
More
や
on
つな
that in a little bit. And then there's a bunch of new sound effects to a bunch of the store intros. Alright,
サウンドエフェクトがアニメーションに追加されました。
like the chapter itself.
結構普通にさらっと流すけど。
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of new
サーバーはわから
quests
ない
and content. There's
これに
a
チャプターをクエスト
new force in the Hololens.
仕様だからね、
The
確かに。
Wardens.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this is pretty cool.
The Wardens.
Story quests are no longer gated by week. So if you want to do the entire story on day one,
なんか、1週間ごとに解放されるって感じじゃなくて、もう全部すでに解放された状態という感じらしいです。すべてのストーリークエストは、最初の週から全部クリアしに行くことが可能だという感じですね。
You can do it all. It'll take a little while.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a an instant thing, but it's gonna take some time. 50 levels, rewards for all of them.
50レベルで、
the Wardens
毎回のレベ
are
ルに
going
報酬
to
があり
ambush
ま
folks
す。
around the map if you stray too close to their strongholds. So watch out. There's some robo menaces. All right. There's 2 new packs in the store. Adherent of the elements for
新しい
25.
パックが2つ出
And
ま
the
す。
stoic crack shot
アダヘ
for
ラン
100.
ド・オブ・ザ・The Element
You
パ
can
ッ
also now
と
purchase
ストイッ
multiple
ククラックシ
chapter
ョッ
pass
トパ
levels
ッ
at
ク
once.
2500円と1万円です。軽く言うと。
And then season 2 of Ranked starts tomorrow, I guess. The titles and
ラン
badges
クのシーズン
will be
2が
given
始まり
out
ます。
for the previous season. So you'll have title and badge based on your highest rank.
シーズン1のタイトルとバッジが与えられます。ログインすると。
will be reset based on how far you got.
シーズン1より低いレベルのパフォーマンスからスタートします。リセットされます。
The less you reset.
いや、リセットですね。
You're not fan like the highest tier that people will be at
I don't.
post reset?
I don't.
I don't recall myself. Anyway, everybody's going down. But
Everybody's going
not
down,
a goal.
but people
It's
that
not a
were
goal.
that legend are not going down nearly as much. How many people got legend? That's a good question. Let's see if I can ask, and before the stream ends, someone will give me an answer. 1 second. Here, Dan, I'm gonna put up a map. Just run through this.
Sure. Oh man, this slide I just realized spoiled some stuff. But there have been a lot of reworks to the BR and Dominion areas to accommodate some new mechanics that we're adding that we'll talk about shortly.
何言ってんだろう。
The Banehelm arena area in particular has been
これ何言ってん
modified
だ
quite a bit. There's
Okay,
new
good one.
large structures, the Great Hall, and there's some other mysterious new structures whose meaning will become apparent as
Under
you play the
levitation.
story quests.
Good job, Slide, spoiling things. Rude. That was nothing. There's no such thing as dodge or levitation changes. That was like a misprint. But we'll see if the analysts get back to me about number of people at Legend. So a variety of miscellaneous changes that didn't fit into a better thing. There are now scrolls in practice. So go level
神
up.
かよ、練習場に巻物が追加されます。ついに。 いや、これは神です。
And
はい、
similarly,
これは神です。
bots
は
in
い
practice aren't going to attack you unless you attack them first. So you're not going to have to
ボットは自分から攻撃してこなくなりました。とにかく、あなたが攻撃したら攻撃してくれる感じですね。
Maybe next time.
ロード時間を減らしました。
load time optimizations. Fantastic.
最適化だそうです。はい。
Improve character locomotion animations when quickly changing directions. I don't actually know what that one means, Dan.
It just means like, you know, the characters, you know,
キャラクター
pose
の
kind
方
of like
向を変えたときかな。
would be snapping a lot if you
す
were
ぐ
kind of
に
like
パッて変えた
practice
ときの
back and forth or left and right.
な
Now
んかを
just
変え
character
たらしい
animation
で
just
す。
looks
は
a
い。
lot smoother.
キャラクターのアニメーショ
more
ン、
natural.
なんかのアニメーション変えたらしいです。ロコモーションがわかんない。
All right, bunch of usability things. This is largely UI stuff, but a couple of not UI stuff. So in settings, there's now an accessibility tab. It's going to have a bunch of things to change the colors on various UI elements. So you can change to a set of predefined palettes, and then things that can get colored are the storm color, rarity
色を
colors,
変えることができるようになるってことこれ
squad mate
た
and
くさ
player
ん。
colors, Dominion and BR, the little ping color.
あ、いろんな色選べるらしいですね。
I don't know what the exact
とに
number
か
of
く
palettes
いろ
offered
んな
is,
ピンの色とか、
but you know, it's if you
プレイヤー
have
の
trouble
色と
distinguishing
か、
certain colors, or if
い
you
ろんな
just have
色
a
を
preference,
設定することができるようになるらしいです。だか
you can change it
ら
all
色
within
覚
there.
設定みたいなもんだね。だから敵として見やすいかみたいなね。
Yeah, all of these changes apply to console as well, unless otherwise specified.
Unfortunately,
すごいいろい
no,
ろ
it
変え
is
れる
not
ね、これ
crosshair
ね。
yet.
スペルストームの色から、レアリティのカラーから、すんごいカスタマイズしてる人
The analysts
出てきそうですね。
having a conversation right now about legendary players, by the way.
すごいな、これは。
It is sort of like colorblind mode.
こういうの持っ
I
て
think
くるんだ。
they,
ベルブレイク。
a
おも
number
ろ
of
い
the
な。
palettes are for sort of various types of color blindness, whose names I will not try to say because I can't say them. I think Ogle's
ナーフとかね、
you
一
also
番最後
tweaked
だ
the
ろうね。
crosshair outlines question mark.
一
Yeah,
番
so we
最
didn't
後だ
get
ろうね。
crosshair coloring in this release, but the shadow around the crosshair is a little thicker to address, you know, a lot of complaints about, you know, particularly if you're aiming at something bright. So this should
風は当たり
increase
ハ
the
ットボッ
visibility
クスだけしか
quite a
言
bit.
及されてない。
I do
今
not
一番いい
disagree
けど
that
ね、
there,
テンペスト
I
は。
don't think there's an argument to be made that the
実
crosshair
際今
should
ちょうどいい
be
けどね、
colorable
正
as well.
直。
That's it's not an argument you need to make. I think I
めちゃく
agree
ちゃ
with
強
you.
いかって言われるとそうでもないし、
Yes.
めちゃくちゃ弱いかって言われるとそうでもない。
All right, part 2.
ユーザビリティまだいきます。
The end of match screen now has a bunch of extra information, so you can see the rewards that are coming. You can add friends in Dominion after the match.
マッチ終了時の画面にいろんな情報が追加されるらしいですね。
In ranked, so you don't have to wait as long for them. And you can also hover over the accolades now to see what they did and how you got it. Yeah, go ahead. Take it.
Yeah, so it's a popular request to add an in-match scoreboard. This shows basically the same thing that shows at the end of the match, so you can see, you know,
In
who's-
match
how you're
scoreboard
doing
to
compared to the
Dominion
rest of your
that
team,
shows
how the other
points
team's doing,
exiles あ、でかい
etc.
ね。試合中のドミニオンのスコアボードが見れるようになるらしいです。すごくでかい。すごくでかいです。これは。みんながどれぐらい稼いでるのかとかいろいろ気になるもんね。自分が何キルしてるのかとかもさ、わかるし。いちいち数えずに済むね。
Join another player's party if they've been invited, but you can still request to join if you have yet to be. So,
あ、勝手に入ることなくなった。うわ、でかいよ。俺めっちゃ入られるんだよ。勝手に中国人にいきなりパーティー入ってこられるんだよ。これあんのでかいわ。はい。参加申請って感じ。参加するじゃなくて参加申請って形になるから、これ。アデダイアログ、ボリューム、セッティングス。 in the setting menu.
Oh my god. Why have we never started calling you Pogles? As in Pog Ogles. Even though that person said Poggies, I was like, oh man. That's
Poggles.
Poggles. See, look at that. Now it's a thing. We did it.
Okay.
My cultural contributions are high today. Part 3. There's a warning pop-up if you try to leave a match early, informing you that you're not going to get XP or quest progress, that you're going to forfeit your crowns, that your teammates will be at a disadvantage, therefore shame on you.
いろんなものがなくなりますよっていうのを
So there's no, explicit punishment for early leaving as of yet. Something that you retain the right to do in the future.
But yeah, shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. Shame bell.
下はなんて言ってんのこ
play
れ
screen also receives a similar treatment, where
いろいろ
alerts, if
プ
the
レイ
party
中の話ですかね
is changing
プレイスクリーンって
modes
書い
that
てあ
they
るん
don't
で
support.
いろいろ見れるように
You
なる
can
よと
see a bunch more quests on the play screen, and you can actually browse to other menus while you're in the queue. You still can't buy stuff from the store, because that would get you into some weird states potentially. But yeah, if you want to go putter around the various screens, have at it.
Something that we had wanted when we originally did the new match queuing system. Took some work to get all the screens to cooperate with it.
The analysts have conferred. Sorry, go ahead. Finish off.
Tiggs Gaming asked about the crashes in Halcyon for Xbox Dominion. That specifically.
生放送いらっしゃい。おはようございます。
The earlier question about how many people made it to Legend in Season 1 is about 200. So 200 people put their nose to the grindstones. All right. Dodge.
Dodge これだよ。
That's
これだ
a
よ。
fun slide.
Dodge これだよ。
I'm gonna let you talk for a while, Ogles.
これ。
Unless you want me to.
待って。これだよ。これ。
I'm happy to, but
これだよ。これ。
I'm just gonna leave this up and just be like, Dodge.
ガチやん。
I should have put the GIF from Dodgeball.
ガチじゃん。
That would have been good.
何期
Yeah,
何期
so,
何期だ教え
I've
ろ。
been excited
Traditionally
to
asked for
talk about
some
this
sort
for
of
weeks.
building skill based
But
movement.
yeah, we're
あ
adding
や
new
っぱり
movement
言ってる。
options
ダッシュだよ、
to
こ
the
れは。
game.
Ocean City
This is, in
Rents.
response to a lot of player feedback, and
やべ、本当に来
sort of
た。
changes that we wanted to make to combat
マ
to
ジで来たんだけど。
make it feel a little bit more fast-paced, raise the skill gap a little bit in certain ways.
Blink?
And this is
Blink?
basically a
これ。
built-in,
ブリンク
lateral
か。
dodge move that you can do at any point.
そうだよね、これ言ってんの。
So it's great for repositioning, dodging projectiles, that sort of thing.
Will quickly move in current
so,
movement
When
direction.
you dodge, you can quickly move in
ブリン
the
クじゃん。
direction that you're
あ、
pressing
来た。
passing
これアルファテスターの人
go
帰ってくるぞ。
forward.
やったな、みんなな。
This does not work like dash in that you cannot, kind of swivel. You can't. It'll only go straight in whichever direction that you're moving. So you can't kind of like redirect mid dodge. And it also, unlike dash, you cannot dodge vertically up or down.
ゲーム
It's
チェン
only
ジャー
lateral.
って言われてるな。
You're skipping ahead to the dodge rules.
Oh, sorry. I'm just talking. I'm not looking at the slide.
Man.
Yeah. You can dodge in the air. You can dodge on the ground.
ダッシュとの区別化が逆に気になる。
And,
Touch by default on PC. It's a control
on
key.
PC, it's the left control stick by
コントロー
default.
キーか。
Lots of you, particularly
別に
those
他の
with
ところ当
multi-button
てるけど。
mice, want to rebind to this. On controllers, it's done by pressing the right thumbstick. And controller players will say, hey, that's where crouch is. So to make room for dodge, we have decided to remove crouch behavior for now. So we felt that the crouch mechanic wasn't super crucial for
しゃがみなくなるの？
play. and felt like this was a good trade-off.
しゃがみ終わり
Sort of the number of
クラウチな
abilities that the player has,
クラウ
within,
チ
controller.
しゃがみ
R2
終了
bend our knees. Earlier, my
Eh?
wife was making me do squats,
え
and it was not an issue of
Eh?
thigh strength. It was my knees are bad,
待って
and
待って
they
待
were
って待って
slowly
待って
unpleasant.
クラウチってしゃがみですよ
So
ね
yeah, so we had a bunch of happiness for Dodge,
しゃ
and a
が
bunch
み
of sadness for Crouch.
終了のお知らせおいどうやって隠れんだよ
Alright.
無理ゲ
gonna
ー
go
やめてくだ
Any
さい
questions that I missed?
There's a bunch of questions that the rules will answer.
あ回避
Ah,
ルーン
yes.
So I'm just gonna spin these out, and you can.
どうなるんですかルーンは
Sorry, you want me to talk to these?
You should talk to all of these things. This is
Yeah, so dodge is always lateral. There's no vertical dodging.
あーなんかいろいろある書いてあるぞ
For a brief period of time after you dodge, there's a bit of a penalty.
どっ
This is
ち
to
にした
kind of prevent just
0.3秒
constant
間は
dodge banning. So after your dodge,
プレ
your
イヤー
maximum
の
speed is
最大
reduced a bit.
速度が
And your,
33%
for
低下
mid-air
し
dodge, your air friction is increased a
空
little
気
bit.
摩擦が 700倍、7倍に増えま
Yeah,
す。
players can dodge while they're midair. There's a delay of a second.
やば、700%ち
Cooldown
ゃんとやって
It's very
や
short.
おいやばすぎるぞ。
Yeah, it's this
だ
one
け
is
ど
we're
プレイ
stating
ヤー
up
は
the second bullet point, so we'll fix this.
回避は空中
and
で
figure out,
の
I
み
believe
で
it's the
空中で
0.5
でき
seconds
ま
and
す。
0.3 seconds.
うん
My bad. You
ど
can
っちとどっ
interrupt
ち
most
どっちとどっ
animations
ちの間は
by dodging.
1.5
You can interrupt
秒
rotation with dodge.
が
Um,
普通の
you
遅延ですって書
can
いてある。
the dodge animation you can interrupt with spell or sorceries or runes.
ダッチを完了したあと 0.5 秒間スピードペナルティが入ります。
Yeah, I think that's all the rules.
This is not a rune. This is built in. This is replacing crouch.
やばい、全部見れんかっ
So yeah,
た
some。questions on dodge before we move on.
レビテーションって何これレビテーションって。
Where are the stats? What stats?
あ、ダッチで
Dash rune is
テレ
not
キャストアニメーションとマナリチャー
Dash
ジ
rune
アニメー
is
ショ
not
ンが
removed, and it's
どうのこうの。
remains still pretty powerful. I do think this gives other runes a little bit more chance to shine.
レビテーション
because you
も
have some built-in
冬
mobility.
か。冬っぽいな。書い
But
てある
I think Dash still works pretty well.
Can be
And don't
interrupted
forget,
by
you
spell
know, with Dash
or
you get
sorcery
not
cast.
only dodge, but you can kind of curve around with the dash. You can dash vertically, that sort of thing.
Is there a cooldown indicator on the dodge?
There is currently no visual indicator. That's something that is on our list. There is an audio indicator when a cooldown goes off. The delay is pretty short though, so you're gonna kind of get a good feel for. We found we were able to get a pretty good feel for it quickly. Someone asked about being able to crouch under buildings or in buildings that areas that were only accessible by
波乱の
crouch.
幕開けだ
Those
な、
areas
し
have been
か
adjusted.
し。
If there's a couple questions about if the dodge gets interrupted, do the penalties still apply? Does it still, hinder your momentum, etc.?
Yes.
Do you need to touch the ground to dodge? So if I dodge once in air, and I'm in the air for 2 seconds.
Yep, you can dodge multiple times in the air.
In-game footage, no. That was me being negligent and working on these slides half an hour ago still.
いまいちやってみないとわかんねえな。ちょっと英語がわかりにくい。
does apply if you like wind run into a dodge, you'll get that penalty. But recall it's percentage based. Dodge does not stop featherfall. I think featherfall has definitely gotten a little bit more useful now because you can, while you're floating, kind of
プレイ
use
動画
dodge
みた
back
い。
and forth to avoid things.
あ、言うて1日後にはね、やってますから僕ら。
If you dodge, then cancel it with a dash. Momentum? Question mark.
I believe so. The dash overrides your momentum for the period of time, so I think it's not going to mess up your dash.
I think any iframes, or is it just moving the hitbox?
No iframes.
しゃがみ消去はきついな。
It does not use your mana.
隠れられるところめっ
Dodge is
ちゃ減
free
ったな。
aside from the slight penalties. Woebegone Wizard will address a lot of the balance stuff, but short answer
クラウチ
yes,
ダッシュ
there's
もなくなるやん。
a lot of things that were adjusted and a lot of the
クラウチダッシュなしっすかこれから。あの爽快感好きだったんだけどな。クラウチダッシュの爽快感。しゃがみダッシュなくなります。どっちダッシュが漏れるか、まあ、無限大だからね、可能性は。可能性は無限大だ。ダッシュどっちかどっちダッシュがね、生まれる可能性がまだあるんで。ダッシュが追加されるとはな、予想してなかったな、ほんの 2時間か1時間前まで。あくまで仮説ぐらいに思ってて。割と、いや、どうせ、回避ってルーンがなんか全部そんな感じになるんでしょって思ってたら。システムが変わった。
Alright. You wanna keep your momentum going?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
冬ですか?
We have made, we added dodge. We've also made a lot of adjustments to levitation in Chapter 3. A lot of this was to limit the amount of extreme verticality that happens in Spellbreak, and basically replace this with a lot more sort of lateral mobility. So too often, levitation just didn't have trade-offs. A lot of fights would take place almost entirely mid-air. We felt that there were just basically too few restrictions on this. And we also had some kind of complaints about how levitation felt. So we're increasing its responsiveness, but we are nerfing how high it can go, and also making it slower, making it essentially a lot less useful in combat, so that runes and dodge and base movement are more important relatively. There's still plenty of verticality options in the game. Obviously, there's still plenty of aerial gameplay at Spellbreak. Would it be Spellbreak if there wasn't? But it's your sort of amount and style of verticality is going to be a lot more dependent on your builds and character, your class, I should say. Another big part of this is it makes level design a lot more impactful. A lot of the hard work that our level designers do to craft a place space where there's interesting tactical strategic elements can get lost when players are essentially floating above all of the geometry the entire time. So this makes things a little bit more grounded, which allows the different areas to feel more impactful gameplay.
Alright, you want to go through all of the nitty-gritties on this one?
とてもいい冬はゆっくりになるよと。的になるよと。
Sorry, I didn't talk to
Part
those last two bullet points. But yeah, so your movement speed. So previously, levitation was acceleration based, where you would basically apply a force to you, and you would start, moving slower and then going faster and faster up to like a max speed.
めっちゃ高くまで、上まで行けるみたいな感じだね。
It's no longer acceleration based. Your speed is now, your upward speed is now fixed, but it's
違う、なんかこれダッチでめっちゃ飛べるんじゃないこれ。
the previous maximum speed. And then between changes to its mana cost and all that, your maximum and the maximum height has effectively been reduced by about 30%.
Alright, ready for the nitty gritties?
どっち横方向だけなの？
Yes. So these are a lot of
I'll just give you the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of little bits and pieces about how this works. Another aspect of this is now levitation. It consumes a minimum amount of mana if you cap it, which is about
冬マナが少なくなるね。
It consumes mana a little bit slower, but your speed is much lower. Something that increased the responsiveness, or actually no, that's a different thing. This is when you stop levitating, you're going to start falling quicker. This is just going to get you to the ground a little bit quicker.
冬のスピードがすんごいふわふわで遅くなった代わりに、まあその分
increase the penalty for mana regenerating after you finish levitation, pretty significantly, almost doubled it. But this mana freeze goes away immediately as soon as you touch the ground. The idea here is that basically levitation remains useful and not punishing for general map traversal if you need to get up to platforms and so on. But during combat, just sort of levitating by default during combat, that's going to be pretty punishing for you. Nice thing that we are adding that greatly improves the responsiveness of levitation is now the upward movement is instantaneous. So basically that means like no matter how far you're falling or how fast you're falling downward, as soon as you hit that space bar, you're going to go straight, back up. Whereas previously in last chapter, if you hit the space bar, it would kind of like struggle to start lifting you a little bit. Sometimes you'd be falling so fast it wouldn't really lift you at all. So this feels a lot more consistent, and gives you a way to as you're dropping down to kind of like instantly change your mind and get back upwards.
So that's levitation.
めっちゃ落ちやすいってことか
A bunch of
な。
other stuff about controls coming up, but
すごい緩くなる。代わりに消費マナもその分減ったみたいな感じがすごい漂ってきますね。なんとなくそんな感じがする。
Yeah, we'll get into stone and other stuff.
冬でふわーって維持できるって感じじゃなくて、まあ、どんどん落ちてくって。
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have videos for this stuff today. The build will be out tomorrow. I know people
play it tomorrow.
Yeah. Impatient to see this stuff, but I expect this stuff is going to take some time to adjust to, and kind of rethink how you approach different encounters and all of that, because a lot of sort of your kind of automatic instincts are going to shift. Something we saw a lot is people kind of like sort of levitating without really thinking about it, and that being like punished a lot harder now when you're in combat. And also remembering to use dodge. It's a very, very short cooldown ability. It's super useful. But a lot of longtime players, when in our turd testing, it took them a little bit just to remember that it was part of their toolkit, and take advantage of it.
How much of a bounce is the first hit of levitate?
How much of a bounce?
Yeah, like when I tap it.
So yeah, the way it works is like if you to this first point about the minimum amount of mana, if you release the button early, you're basically going to retain your upward momentum. So you'll still get a little bounce even just from a tap. Once you pass that threshold, when you let go of the button, your upward momentum isn't retained as much. So you start going back to the ground a little bit faster.
Yeah, so we'll talk about some of the other things. It's like 2 or 3 slides.
Jump still exists. Yes. Jump still exists, and jump
まだ
itself
そ
has
の
not
点につい
changed.
ては触れられてすらいないからね。
はい。
冬のコントロール。
So levitation controls. These existed for console, but now they're on PC as well. So I'll just put these all up. But you can hold, which is what you do right now. You can tap it. So if you jump in midair, you'll start levitating. And then if you
これは
hold it,
ホールドでしょ。
continue to do it. You can also do toggle.
いつも通りならホールドってことでしょ。
Levitate until you untoggle it.
Yeah,
Consoles had
the
this.
biggest difference here is tap. For controller players, the tap mode has changed a little bit now that it's like basically a fixed duration. With the idea being, if you're using one of the controller layouts where levitation is a face button, this allows you to just tap and then get your thumb back to the right stick quickly, so you can kind of levitate while you're still aiming. Same with toggle mode, except you have to tap again to stop levitating.
Dude, the suggestions of a crouch rune are killing me right now. Fantastic, I love it. So more movement stuff. Do you want me to do these, or you want to go do them? You'll have more to say, but I'll happily burn through them.
Sure, I can do this. So we have increased gravity a little bit compared to a previous chapter. Just so you're aware, this is not the same gravity that was in chapter 1. It's still less gravity, but it's a little bit more than chapter 2. This was kind of reflecting some of the changes in levitation and
ちょっとふわふわが戻ってきたってことですね。1400から1560になったんですよ、今回で。チャプター3で1560になるんですけど、チャプター1は1920でしたと。ちょっとずつ戻っていくのかな。
Changed your lateral speed, that is your horizontal speed, when you're dropping into minion. This was because you can. Turns out you could go pretty far across the map while you were dropping, and felt that this made defending points a little bit too difficult. Because respawning players could kind of like constantly kind of keep dropping on or very near the control points you're trying to defend.
リコールでめっちゃ行きやすかったのを直すってことかな。
Make it so defense is a little more possible here.
どういうことですか、これは。
And that respawning is effectively like a little bit more punishing because it pushes you back into the area that you control. So I think lots of people are gonna like hearing forward movement speed has been increased in Battle Royale.
バトルロワイヤルでは移動速度がプラス3されてます。ちなみにドミニオンでは常にプラス3でしたって書いてありますね。元からプラス3だったらしいですよ。
You'll run faster, and this applies to all boots. So rare boots are now, plus 3 run speed more than they were before.
ドミニオンの初期速度になるらしいです。
And finally, this is
統一してくれた方がね、やりやすいですよね。
has been around for quite a while, but between levitation and dodge, this was kind of to sort of balance kiting behavior in duels between players by basically when you were firing spells in midair, it would slow your momentum a bit when you're going forward. We decided to this that it was no
なん
longer.
て書いてあるのこれ、一番最後の下の行。やばい、わかんなかっ
We're
た。
going. You want to keep going?
Yeah. So acceleration has been changed. We the way it used to work is basically it was kind of like a 2-gear system where you would start your initial acceleration was very fast, but then once you kind of hit walking speed, your acceleration would become much slower. So to get to full speed, it would take
どういうこと
a
これ
little
何言っ
bit.
てんの
Now it takes you get to full speed a little bit faster, but your initial acceleration is a little bit slower. This is a lot of this is so there's simplification aspect to this, but also this kind of reflects us adding dodge, which allows you to do
走
these
る速さが
quick
加速度的な。へー
dodging projectiles and that sort of thing.
あ、
That
本
used
当
to
だ。
do
スター
with
トムービ
strafing
ング
and
は
so
少
on.
し遅いけど、
So we wanted to lessen the ability to do that with
最高速度になるまでがちょっと速いって書いてある。だから最初の歩くスピードがちょっと遅くなるけど、速くなるまではめっちゃ速いみたいだから、
except up and down.
バロラントで言うたらストッピングが難しくなるみたいな、そういう
Every 2-dimensional.
エアブースト
So added air boost acceleration. This is kind of a quality of life thing, but basically when if you jump up in the air from a standstill, this is how quickly
空中制御がしやすくなるってこ
start
とじゃねえ
moving
の
in a
これ。
direction while you're in midair from zero velocity. So this allows you, if I just jump straight up and then start pressing forward, I'm going to get a lot further than I used to get.
It's a good question. Someone asked, overall, would you consider gameplay faster or slower now?
I think it's faster.
I think it's faster.
In most ways, yes.
Levitation, certainly not as fast, but
I'd say certainly I think the skill cap has been raised here quite a bit, and that the top tier players are
どういうことな
going
ん
to
だ
be
一体。
moving and reacting a lot faster now.
空中動作制御がさ、どうなるのか全然見えてこない。
then
It's
your last
another
one.
another couple quality of life changes. These are
マジでわから
sort
んな。
of seemingly kind of minor
全然わかんなくなってき
things,
た。
but they're basically here to tackle scenarios where I tap the space bar thinking I'm going to jump, but instead I just like levitate for the duration of that
想
tap,
像つかんね。
which feels
マ
bad.
ジわかん。
So the places where we found this is like if you are on an unwalkable slope, like if you jump down onto a slope that's a little bit too steep that the player is going to start sliding, you can actually jump off of that slope now. But to prevent people from sort of hopping up slopes, you can only do that once until you land on a walkable surface. And then we added, this is actually a game industry term, it's called coyote time, which basically for a very short few number of frames after you leave a ledge, you can press jump and you'll jump instead of levitate.
All right. I think we've gone through all the movement changes. Yeah, we're done with movement changes.
カメラ見えたな、今。次カメラだ。
I'm going to ask you this question, Dan. It's from a player or from a viewer. Would you say that movement is more fluid or more of a struggle to, quote, to be steezy?
I think I'm too old to know what being steezy is.
I do not know what being steezy is, but from context clues,
始まってから45
I
分
would
経って
say
るっ
it's
てマジ
more。fluid.
Yeah, I would expect that that when folks have been playing for a while, initially get into it, they're gonna see like their initial reaction is like, oh, this isn't fluid at all. It's because
正直
frankly,
僕
you
も寝
might
たいっす。
not be
眠
doing
い。
it the way it's designed anymore. So figuring out how dodge momentum works is really important. Taking advantage of the sort of responsiveness
どちらかというとトイレ行
aspects
き
of
たいのもあるわ。
levitation, not crunching on sort of the old like levitation acceleration, that sort of thing. I do think it's a lot more fluid, but it might, not appear
挑戦
that
聞くま
way
で寝れない
initially.
正直ある
Spend,
ね。
half hour in practice arena, messing with the controls and that sort of thing. I think you'll get long-time players get a feel for it pretty quick.
Yeah, on not having gameplay video, literally I just didn't have time. Like I said, I was making these slides half an hour before this started. Are there any changes to strafe speeds?
Strafe speed has not been changed. Any mode, actually. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Camera.
カメラ
Do you want me to talk? I can
これ
talk.
ね
You've been
真ん
talking
中
a
の
lot.
カメラが
You're
追
right.
加されるんですよね。オプションとして
So there is now a new optional centered camera. So right now your camera is a little bit off center when you're playing. This centers it. So it will look weird at first. This is the new default. But it makes aiming up close or at targets above you much easier. If you don't like it, you can swap it back. It's disorienting at first. The first time we had this in, it was very
昔
weird.
はカメラオプションも残ってますよっていうのが書いてあります。なんでね、
It's
こ
so
の点に
much
関しては
better.
安心してくださいと。
So yeah, you give it a shot. There's also a new FOV setting for vertical. Horizontal FOV is still by your monitor's aspect ratio, but now there's a setting for vertical.
あ、
So
フォ
you
ブ
can
のセッ
basically
ティング
choose
もできる
between
そうです。
seeing more of the action, but you're making your targets, smaller in the distance, or people on lower res or
垂直フォブはもう
different
すで
aspect
に
ratios sometimes want a smaller FOV.
垂
If you
直
want,
フォブはもう
full
決まっちゃってるっ
behavior
ぽい
is
ね。
still available. Just set it to maximum. And
モ
it'll
ニターの
be,
比で
the same as you're used to.
横は
But
決
both
め
those
れ
are
ますよ
optional.
と。
I would strongly encourage you to play with the centered camera. See what you think about it. It makes life so much easier, especially with lightning and ice. Questions about any of that?
Yeah, I'll say this definitely, I think just feels how it should have probably felt in the first place. It just generally just makes projectile firing feel a lot more intuitive and understandable.
Okay. Onward and upward. General gameplay changes.
一般的なゲームプレイの方に行っていきますと。
Sorceries no longer charge while you're respawning from a portal. So if you're dropping back in, your sorceries will be on cooldown until you land. This is to help the sorcery spam on Dominion zones. So, you're not constantly coding the field in
あー、キャプ
clouds
チャ
or
ー
firewalls
占領ポイントでの、魔法ソーサリーがバンバン飛び交うのがあれなんで、
Dominion
リ
capture
スポーン
zones
するときの
have been vertically shrunk down, so you
ソーサリーは
cannot
チャージされ
capture
ない状
slash
態でド
contest
ロップし
them
ます。
from way up above. Also, you now
ドミニオンの占領の高さ
on sorceries, so
制
on flame
限を、
walls and on toxic cloud,
少し低くします。
you'll see who owns them
風
and if
の
you can use
弱
them.
体化であります
So
ね。
if
これは
if they are a friendly
一つの
one and you can use it, it will be highlighted appropriately.
Yeah, this is
見たかった今
massive. Like, be able to know which
高さ
walls you
低くな
can,
ったね今。
firefly through, things like that, is super helpful.
It is huge. It's surprisingly huge. All right, ready for some noodly balancing? Noodly balancing.
わかんない。何書いてたか一番下わかんなかった。はい、あと
Am I
スト
gonna
ー
do
ン。
these or are you gonna do these? Or you want to do just swap on and off slides?
リカバリータイムが増えますだ。
Here, you do this one, I'll do
Alright.
this.
So Fireball's recovery time has been increased by 0.1 seconds. So basically, people up close and personal with fire were a little too strong. Pulled them back a smidge. And then someone was saying up above, Dragonfire has gotten a haircut
はい、
as well.
ドラゴンファイアのダメージが
So it used to be 50
40dps に
dips. It's now
変わ
40
ります。
dips.
50から 40です
And。it used to do 17 damage a tick.
13チェックの、かける3。
Dominion, especially
13かける
was,
3ですね、これは。
a little bit
ありがとうございます。サ
Dragonfire.
チアルさんいらっしゃい。ドラゴンファイアの火力が下がりますかね、これ
This is
は。
a part of all the lev changes, the dodge changes, etc. But there's a couple of changes.
石の
Shockwave.
高さ、石の、スピードが、54から
It is
51.5 に下がります。
significantly narrower, the actual projectile, and it took a pretty sizable.
ショックウェーブ、石の通常攻撃の、広さが 1.4 メートルから 0.6 メートルに下がります。幅ですね。ショックウェーブのダメージが、8ダメージから7ダメージぐらいの減少。
The width changes is pretty significant.
浮遊のチェンジによってですね、
Mostly just
石
rejoicing.
は、とても強いんで、元に戻しましたと言ってます。浮遊がなくなった分、石がめっちゃ強いらしいです、これ。どうやら。浮遊を弱体化しすぎた結果、石がめちゃくちゃ強すぎるんで、元の仕様に戻しましたと言ってます。はい。
The visual on the stone did not.
どうやら
we looked at this actually, and
どうやら石は
found
そんな
that
感じらしい
actually
です。
reducing
数値上は弱く見えるけど、
the projectile
って感じら
width,
しいです。テスト
given
状態では
just
め
the
ちゃ
way
くちゃ
that
強
the
かったら
stone
しいですね。
thing kind of comes out, still felt pretty clear. But
それを
that's something
それで
that
元に戻し
we
た
are
と
open
言
to
っており
feedback
ま
on.
す。あ、ここから
I
風
will
です
say
ね。
with you, Aquarius Panda.
ファイヤーはちょっと少な
Yes,
くてよかった
so
です
we
ね。
are
ウィンドス
nerfing
パム
wind
はず
span.
becoming a real problem. もうすんごい
I think
実際問
honestly,
題
we've
にな
gotten
ってました。
a lot of feedback from the community about this, so we're dialing it back quite a bit. We have reduced the size of the projectile from centimeters to 25
ウィンドシア
centimeters,
の
so it is quite a bit less wide.
サイズをですね、70センチから
aim,
25センチへ減少、
a
3
lot
分
more
の
accurately
1
to
程度で
get
す
those
ね。
shots off. To account for this, we have made it a little bit more effective at range. So as you can see, as your rarity goes up for the wind gauntlet, your minimum damage is going to go up.
最小ダメージ増やし
So
まし
that
た。
means,
は
if I hit from max range with wind, a legendary wind,
お
I'll
い
do 8.
おい
Whereas
おい
previously I
お
would
い
do 5.
レジェンダリで何当たれば8ダメージなの
Something that we changed as part of
Yeah.
levitation is a little bit
最大
effective
到達距離が
nerf
12
to
メートルから8メートル
wind
に下がります。
This
なので
isn't
8メートルで
as
最
bad
低
as it
8
sounds
ダメージ。
necessarily. This is basically
いや
the
最低ダメー
range
ジが
of
上がる
how
から最高ダメー
high
ジ
I
は変わらない。
above the
最低ダメー
ground
ジが上がるけど
or
射程距離が3分の2になり
a
ます。
wind
そして当たり判
projectile
定が小さくなり
explosion
ます。
to
だから当たり
start
判定
in
小さ
full.
くなるし、有効
So
射
I
程
could
範囲は狭まるけど
previously I
最
could
低
be
ダメー
pretty
ジ
high
が
off
上が
the
ります。
ground and still wind and get lifted. Now it's been reduced a
ま
little
あす
bit.
ごいカスダメみたいなのがなくなると。カスリダメみたい
And yeah, the idea here is, well, with levitation generally being
な。これなんて
the
言った
height,
これ
max
ライフ
height
タイム。
being lowered a little bit, felt it was appropriate after a lot of playtesting to lower
ウィンド
this.
シェアが生きてる時間ってこと ?1.0 から 0.8。
You should take lightning. I'll take the next one.
より近接って感じだね。すごい近接になった。
So, lightning.
ライトニング。
Ton of changes with this one. It's going to feel a lot different for folks, hopefully in a good way. So I think we're
スキ
increasing
ルキャッ
skill
プを
cap
増や
quite
したいって
a
最後に書いてあ
bit.
りますね。スキルキャップを増やしたい。
Trying
そんな
to
簡単なものにしてた
ensure that we, that people who want to play as a lightning mage, that it fits that aspiration while still kind of being balanced and not being like
Acceptation
frustrating
ってなんだ
to play against. So it's a weird one to lead off with, but you can see that we have nerfed the damage a bit.
A bit.
Purple.
おっと
But your
めっちゃダメージ
DPS
下がってね。
is actually a bit higher.
ただレートが上がりますと。
Fire rate,
だめっちゃパチパチパチパチパチって当たるようになると
faster.
1.25 倍のスピード
But-
で攻撃速度が上がりますと。その代わり単発のダメージが少なくなる。
Trying to follow along with the stream, which is on delay for me.
Oh.
The bloom that is the sort of spread of the projectile where it goes versus your
ブルー
crosshair
ム
has been increased by quite a bit. This is the maximum bloom. So
これ
this
最後のわかんない俺。
reduces the ability to kind of like repeatedly make long range shots with lightning bolt, and requires you to kind of do burst fires, particularly if you're firing at someone at range.
拡
A
散
lot of chat is saying
Oh.
bloom doesn't equal skill.
Yeah, so we have also added a repeatable or a pattern to the spread. So basically, every time you hold down
リコイル
the
みたいなもんか。
spell, the bloom is going to move in a
なるほど。
predictable
CSGO って書いてある
and
け
so
ど、
you can account for this
拡散度合いが増えるんだけど、パターン化してるんで、
your
打ち直し始めると同じようなものになるよって言ってますね、これは。めっちゃ変わるぞ。
and then yeah, this is another aspect of
拡散度合いが増えるけど
the
パターン化
increase.
してますよって
So
言
your
って
bloom
ますね、
goes
これ
up
は。
by quite a bit per shot compared to what it previously did. I think
で、これまでよりも発射速度が上がって、一発あたりのダメージが減ると。やばい、いきなり。そうだね、ソーサリー今のところないね。いきなりだよ、みんな。雷めっちゃ使い込まないとできない武器になったぞ。いきなり、なんかR301 から簡単に言えば R301 からバンダルになったみたいな感じでしょ、これ。雷。今の例通りだよね、多分。大まか間違ってないと思う、これは。がそんな感じがします。
No.
しっかり使い込んでくれよと。
I would say lightning probably
ゲー
still
ムが
is
いい
the
だ
best
け
for
で
damage
使い取るんちゃうぞって感じですね、今回の雷は。いきなり変わりましたね、すごく。
Funny, people are asking about talks. ... Talks, ecologist.
はい、トクシックですね。
So, was it last patch?
毒きましたね。
Chapter 2. We sort of heavily nerfed talks at range. It went too far. So,
少しだけ長いレンジ
new
にしましょうという
talks,
感じですね。
as of Chapter 3. The distance goes about 20% further. The
1.2倍
trajectory
最大距離
now lines up better with the crosshair. And the spread has been tightened up a little bit. So if you're good at aiming at someone, you'll be able to hit them with more of the pellets. And it goes farther. It's got a tighter spread, and so on. And then lastly, Vanishing Mists gives a little bit more of a
距離を 1.2 倍にするけど、スプレーの拡散度合いはまた 10% ちょっと
all pretty straightforward on talks.
拡散を減らすって言ってるからこれ強くなるんだな、
spell
全体的に。
necessarily, but it will be better at medium ranges and close ranges for that matter.
これは完全にバフですね、すごく。
You should take projectile speeds.
あ、発射ス
This
ピー
is
ド
a
で
scarier looking
す
slide than
ね。
it
発射
actually
体の
is.
ス
It's
ピー
not
ド。
actually that scary.
Yeah, so
発射体のスピードですね。
a little bit of history lesson for this one. Shortly after launch, actually, we found an issue with our latency compensation code, a bug in that code. essentially, this is what allows you to not instant ping to be able to hit people by basically adjusting how projectiles are fired on the server and then looking at historical positions of players so that if it looks like you hit somebody on your client, then you actually do damage to them. So we found it a bug there, but changing it, if folks recall, I forget which patch it was, but we had fixed the bug, but found that this severely impacted people's perceptions of how the projectiles felt. So a lot of their sort of muscle memory was lost. We didn't actually end up shipping the release. This was internal testing. That could, who were historically really good at aiming projectiles, just completely messed them up when we made this bug fix. We really wanted to make the bug fix though because this has a lot to do with hit registration errors. So by fixing this, we reduced hit registration errors quite a bit. So to do a proper fix for this, essentially what we've done is increased the velocity of a lot of the projectiles to account for the overcompensation that was being done on the server. This is going to feel, particularly for folks who have been playing for a long time, very, very used to the, like isolated speed and that sort of thing. They're going to notice a little bit different. But what we've done is spend a lot of time with players testing, looking at this to try to dial it and feel as close as possible to how it existed before. The only exceptions I would say here is that stone was deliberately made a little bit slower, and that's to kind of account for the changes in levitation and so forth. So although these projectiles sound a lot faster, it's actually not going to feel that much faster.
すごい e スポーツになってる可能性あるよ。1日後。めっちゃ e スポーツになってどうするみんな。これで。ビュンビュンビュンビュンみたいな。全員移動速度速いです。すぐ逃げられます。当てられません。
Yeah, but to be clear, the latency compensation, it's only up to a certain amount of ping that we compensate. Otherwise, it would become
どんぐりの背比べかもみたいな感じじゃないの。バランス。
Really high if we allowed super high pings.
こんだけ基礎的なものを変えたところでみたいなところあるからね。
So recalls around 160 ping, we no longer compensate for that, so you'll want to actually compensate with your aim past that. But hopefully you're not playing on a 160 or more ping.
Yeah, I get cranky after 150. Yeah, it's not going to feel like a 25% projectile speed increase.
速度もしこれだけだったら、大体他の移動速度変わってなかったら、外差はもっと適用しやすくなるというか、多少大丈夫になるというか、緩和はされるような気が。ただ移動速度がビンビンしてたらダメだな。無理っすね。
And that essentially means that the projectiles ended up a tenth of a second ahead of where they should. We fix that, but we can't just adjust the velocity to account for that because you can't adjust a constant velocity to take into account this instant forward teleportation. So now that instant teleportation or forward, fast forwarding is gone, the projectiles would feel a lot slower, but we upped their speed to try to match the existing velocities.
So yeah, we actually haven't been in the same room as each other for a year and change now.
That's not true.
Well, we were outside together. You and I were outside together a couple weeks ago. No real changes to sorceries other than the ones to cooldowns to a couple of interactions. All right, next one. Runes. Couple of rune changes.
さあ、ルーンだ。
Spring
スプリングステップの高さが
slightly less high,
20%
but
減りますと。
goes faster forward.
横の速度が 40% 上昇しま
More
す。
steppy, less springy.
高さは少なくなるけど、
Kind of in theme of our general like
感じですか
increasing
ね。レテラル
lateral
は多分
mobility
水平方向かな。
while dialing back the vertical mobility.
側面のみたい
And
な意
then
味ですね。
Chrono has gotten a little bit of a cooldown nerf.
横への。
When people had dodge and Chrono, it was
横の速度は上がるけど、
difficult to kill them.
高さ、最大高さが 20% 減少。まあ、クロノはそうだよな。
Yeah, I think Chrono, even with this nerf, is
ク
still
ールダウン
powerful
が
because you have
増えますと。
the biggest downside
まあ、
with
そ
Chrono
うだ
previous to
よ
this was that
ね。
you lost a lot of mobility,
ちょい
but
き
now
そう
with
だよ
dodge, you
ね。
at least have some quick mobility available to you. So that made it really good with the low cooldown, and I still think pretty good with
強かっ
this
たも
new
ん
longer
ね。
cooldown.
ドミニオン強かったも
And
ん、
then
マジで。
got one more thing.
装備。
The much asked for loadouts feature. So you can now save a cosmetic set per class. So if you want your Frostborn to look all
ス
frosty,
キンなどをクラス属性ごとに分けれるようになりました。セーブされますと。
that is now a thing you can do.
ナイス。
So you have a separate per class talent loadout like you do now, but also cosmetic loadout.
それぞれ分けた装備になるそうですね。タレントと、スキン。
But the cosmetics tab now has a collections and a loadouts menu.
クエストのたびにさ、変えるの嫌だったからさ。
any cosmetic to all of your classes, or just the one in question.
おー。
You can change loadouts while waiting in queue. No, currently there's no Triumph of Cooking.
おもろい変化したな。
Talents are still by class right now. We haven't
どうも、ユグタルさんいらっしゃ
done
る。
anything past that.
Yeah, so questions, etc. We got a little bit of time to hang out and ask stuff. I'll put these notes up on Reddit after we correct a few of the typos, and then take me whatever 15 minutes to format them up. Otherwise, the patch is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Borsellino, the stone still does have a damage drop off. But we only nerfed the max damage, not the min damage. So the difference between max and min is
少ししたらね、
a lot less
レ
than
デ
it
ィッ
used
ト
to
の
be.
方にも投稿されるということで。
Is crouch unbound or removed from game entirely? It is removed.
Its crouch is totally removed.
No game modes in this chapter. No new game modes. No new maps for Dominion.
Sorry, I don't have info today on matchmaking things.
Yeah, we'd have to get Steph in here for that. The nice thing about matchmaking is they just can change it on the server without an update. Is the super jump bug fixed?
Yes. Or at least we have not been able to repro it, so there might be new ways to exploit with the new levitation. But we'll patch those as we find them.
This is the first stream you guys have really wanted GIFs and videos.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do them like way back when. We'd have a couple here and there. But...
Yeah. There was the one we did when I had the editor open. That was a nightmare.
スーパージャンプ治ったっつった今。 スプリングステップに関してスーパージャンプ治ったのかな。
Do we go back to
ちょっとわ
chapter
かんない
1
ですけど。
style after Gauntlet Select, or are we still locked in to chapter 2?
でもあれです
lockdown?
ね、
I'm
ダ
not
ッシ
sure
ュ
what
の
that
変
means.
更はない。
I think he means that,
け
that
ど、
you didn't.
ダッチが
In
追加
chapter
され
1,
た
you
んで、
just go
他
into
の
the
ルー
practice
ムも
mode,
考えてね
the
ってこ
lobby.
とっぽいですかね。
But and now you are
ル
in
ームの
queue.
使い方は多種多様になるのかな。
You are still in queue, but the difference is now that the rest of the main menu is still accessible, so you can go through your collections and that sort of thing. Look at your quests, all that.
I don't know, Blue. That's a good question. Maybe the social folks can put some stuff up.
Nothing about spectator clients for Dominion. That's certainly something we're aware of.
思ったより武器の変更は少なかったっすね。思ったよりは。うん。
No, customs have a minimum of 3.
Oh, minimum of 6. 3 per,
Well, yeah.
3 per side. Yes.
うん。カスタムサーバーのどうのこうのは変わらないっぽいですね。うん。
No, crouch is gone. Gone. There's
Gone.
no keybind for it. It's gone.
Custom fixes to falling into walls? I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one offhand. Sorry. No, there's no customs for BR right now. That's something we've, I think, discussed internally. Some of the issue there is just sort of the cost of running BR servers, and how that scales for a number of players.
Yeah, we can't do practice with your friends because practice is running on your local machine.
今なんて言ってた？
Does dodge break invis?
It does.
今なんか言ってたな、今。めっちゃ聞き逃しちゃいけないところ言ってたよ。
In
俺わかん
customs,
な
you
く聞き取れ
fall into the halcyon walls when first dropping.
俺さっきの聞きたかった。さっきの
I've
さ、
not personally experienced that. I've played a bunch of custom
BR の
stuff,
カスタ
but,
ム出さないんすか
yeah,
って、僕らは Q スナイプしないといけないんすかっていう
that would be
質
odd that
問
it's
を
on
投げ
custom.
てた人がいた。
Maybe talk to support about that. I'm sure we'll get it logged.
Who is Brilly, human or robot? It's a great question. You'll have to wait and find out.
It ties it. We're aware of that. It's a difficult problem, but controller keybinds is something we're certainly aware that players would like to get.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Don't assume we know about bugs unless someone said, yes, thank you for the bug report. A lot of people will sort of talk about something and assume we know
いや、し
about
か
it.
し
It's
ダッ
not
チ
always
気に
true.
なるな。どんな感じになるんだろう。気になりまく
Does
りんぐです。
bloom, how does bloom affect magnetism and aim assist on lightning?
It is aim assist is applied for any bloom. Uh, 120 FPS on next gen. Is,
are tweaks on the table for this chapter, like the Fire NATO tweak in chapter 2? Yeah, I mean, tweaks are always on the table. What are the wardens firing at us? Magic. All right. I'm going to get these formatted and up on Reddit momentarily. Well, not momentarily, but like a little bit. Otherwise, we will see y'all tomorrow in game. Cool.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to it.
Catch you later. Someone, Andrew or someone should raid or whatever that button is. Cool. Take care.
気をつけてと。はい。終わりました。いやー、じゃあ皆さんどうすか？どうですか？ねえ。いや、お疲れ様でしたね、皆さんね。1時間20分も合計で見ましたけども。ナイス。はい。皆さんいかがだったでしょうかね。いや、俺めっちゃ楽しかったっすね。ただまあ一つやっぱ難点なのは、長かったね。これまでで一番長かったよ、間違いなく。1時間20分は長いよ。長かった。千秋さんもお疲れ。いや、楽しかったね。みんなでさ、僕のところで公式配信を流せるっていうのが楽しかった。初めての試みで。ちゃんとアンドリューに聞いたからね。ストリームで流していいですか？これリアクションするために、配信流していいですかって言ったら、問題ないように見えるんで OK っすよーって言われてね。普通に開始5分前ぐらいに OK 取れたんで。生放送もお疲れ。もう僕もね、ちょっと朝早いし、親も起きてきたんでね、そろそろ寝たいと思います。寝ないとね、怒られるんで。はい。いや、楽しかったっす。いや、でもちょっとダッチがわからないけどね。日本のニュースサイトに載るかは、なんだろう、ゲームスパークとかには載るんじゃないか。いや、でも結構、基本的なところ変わったし、なんだろう、狼ルーン使えなとかそういう感じでもなそうだし、ダッチっていう選択肢ができたから、わかんないですね、正直ね。ルーンの環境が全然読めない。本当に読めないことになってる。ダッシュを使えればいいのか。いやでもダッシュもなんかちょっと違うのかななんて。スプリングの方が強いのかななんて。でもスプリングもわかんないよ。高さ減ったからね。フェザーは弱そうだけどな。フェザーは弱そうだけど、フライトはわからんで。で、結構ちゃんと武器に修正食らったのマジで石ぐらいで、雷はなんかすごい、癖ある感じにして、ね、ちょっと癖ある感じになったけど、まあ、R301 がね、バンダルやファントムになったって感じですけども。で、あと、まあ、炎はほとんど食らってないに等しいし、風はちょっと近接特化になったね。毒はまあマイルドな感じで、元に戻るような形。うん。まあ、軽いバフですね。軽いバフ。毒は軽いバフ、炎は変わりなし、石はまあ前パッチぐらいに戻る。前パッチよりもひどいかもしれないけど、まあ強すぎるんで、ということで、今回の環境では強すぎるんで元に戻しましたと。うん。あと何言ってね。氷は変わってないですね。氷が一番変わってない。氷基準なのかもしれない。なんなら。どうなるかわかんないね、俺も。読めない。マジで。ルーンも読めないし、本当に変わってない。タレントだけでは。タレントだけ変わってない。全部。なんも一切。前回がタレントをめちゃくちゃ変えようっていう一新するパッチノートだったから、っていうのもあるんだけど、マジ、タレントだけ一切変わってない。武器ちょっとやばい属性あるし、やっぱ移動面だよね。すごいわ。しゃがみなくなる、ダッチになるし、石は完全に弱体化してるらしいけど、受けなくなるから、その分きつい弱体。でも操作理面は変わってない、全部の属性。まあ、風がちょっとドミニオンで空中の判定が狭まるから、上昇気流で多分稼げないだろうみたいなところはあるんだけど、でも受けないっていうのがあるから、 逆に受けないってことは、テンペストは受けるっていうところが強かったわけだから、そういう面では絶対強いと思うよ。テンペスト。うん。で、石はちょっとわからんな。ソーサリーは強いからね。なんだかんだ。普通に強いからね、ソーサリーは。ちょっとわかんないな。でもドミニオンの空中判定なくなったから石に拍車かけてるんですよね、そういう面では。結構石に拍車かけてると思うんですよね。強いと思うよ、石。ドミニオンではまだ最強だと思うな。全部見てもそう思うかな。まあその相対的に見て火は弱体化されてないから、まだ前のチャプター2のパッチよりは、パイロマンサーとストーンシェイパー戦ったパイロマンサーの方が若干強いかもしんないけど、言うてお互いにしくらなかったあれだしな。まあ、ちょっと本当に理想論言ってもあれなんで、ダッチの使い方でなんか変わりそうな気するよ、めっちゃ。勝負の決まりどころ、正直ダッチとルーンの相性みたいな、多分ルーンの相性が出てくるかもしれない。ダッシュ対ダッシュで、お互いにミラーだから、切りどころだよねっていう話から、多分ちょっと変わってくるかもしれない。何のルーンが使われるか正直わからないんで、もうとにかく何もわからん、マジで。今回マジで予想できない。みんなもそれなりに予想してみてください。正直どの予想も外れると思って見てます。正直ね、今回の話は。でも面白くなってきたね。なんか多種多様化というか、これまではさ、ダッシュ一強だとか、ダッシュスプリング、シャドウステップしか勝たんわみたいな感じだったけどさ、今回からちょっと変わりそうですね。下手し狼は使われないかな。でも移動速度上げるしな、みたいな感じ。透明全然あるよね。だって透明とダッチどっちも使えるんだよ。全然あるよね。みたいな。なんならシャドウステのクールタイム気にしなくていいから、ダッチ使えるから、毒強くねみたいな。全然あるよねみたいな感じで。はい。氷もダッチ使えるからな。いや、全部の属性、移動めっちゃ稼げね。なんか、聞いてる感じだとめっちゃ楽しくなってきましたね。はい。そんなわけで、今日はこの辺にしたいと思います。僕もちょっと寝たいんで。はい。本当皆様ね、配信来てくださってありがとうございました。皆さんと一緒に公式配信を見るっていうのはね、そのスマホの人も、PC の人も変わらずできたってところが僕個人的には嬉しかったです。はい。というわけで、今日はこの辺で終わりたいと思います。ちょっとね、小声で申し訳ない。親とかも全部バリバリ起きてきてるんで、はい、早めに仕切らせていただきたいと思います。ナナメルさんもお疲れ様です。来てくださった方々ね、チョコポリ、ケンケンパさん、ベノム、猫妖精、マケマ、ニッコリちゃん、ユグドラさん、のだめさん、キサキさん、生穂さん、ナナメロさん、サチアイさん、早朝かお疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。ありがとうございます。おやすみ、キサキさんもお疲れ、おやすみね。みんなもちゃんと寝てください。はい、ちょっと動画に関してはレディットの翻訳したりとかいろいろあるので、それしてからちょっとダウンしたいと思います。というわけで、今日は生穂さんもありがとう。今日はこの辺にして終わりたいと思います。ありがとうございました。バイバイ。ごめんね、声張れなくてごめん。親も起きてきてるんでね。バイバイ。